Barbara and Adam Maitland live happily in their nice home, enjoying a staycation. While Adam works on his town model in the attic, Barbara takes care of the homemaking. Their realtor, Jane, thinks their house is too big for just two people and suggests selling it. The Maitlands decline the offer and head to town for errands. On the way back, they encounter a dog on the road, and in an attempt to avoid hitting it, they drive off the bridge and drown in the river. Unaware that they are now dead, the Maitlands return home, but find themselves confused about how they got there so fast. Adam tries to go outside and ends up in a strange desert-like place infested with sandworms. He quickly returns inside, only to discover that 2 hours have passed. Barbara finds a book titled Handbook for the Recently Deceased on the table. Sometime later, Jane sells the Maitlands' house to the Deetz's, a strange family from New York. Charles, the father, seeks peace and quiet away from the city, while Delia, the mother, is more of a social butterfly and struggles to adjust to small-town life. They also have a teenage daughter named Lydia. To make the house more suitable, Delia hires a decorator named Otho since she dislikes Barbara's decorating style. Adam and Barbara cannot stand the Deetz's, so they come up with a plan to scare them away by haunting their own house. However, their attempt fails as the living cannot sense the presence of the dead. In search of a safe place, they rush to the attic and lock the door. Meanwhile, Lydia stumbles upon a skeleton key and attempts to unlock the door, but Adam and Barbara prevent her from entering. As they contemplate their situation, the TV mysteriously turns on, and a ghost named Beetlejuice appears, offering his services to terrify the living for a price. Instead of seeking Beetlejuice's help, they consult a handbook that guides them on creating a door to the afterlife's waiting room. Upon entering the waiting room, they discover numerous other souls who have met similar or even worse fates. Eventually, they are directed to a special room, which turns out to be their own home, redecorated by Delia and Otho. In this room, they meet their caseworker, Juno, who criticizes their weak attempts at haunting and warns them about the dangers of Beetlejuice, the man they saw on TV. After Juno leaves, Adam and Barbara decide to make another attempt to scare Charles and Delia. They disguise themselves in sheets and make eerie noises. However, once again, their efforts prove ineffective. Surprisingly, Lydia is able to hear their annoying noises and decides to investigate. When Adam and Barbara remove their sheets, she can see them. Lydia reveals that she found their handbook and read a passage stating that living people tend to ignore the strange and unusual. However, as she considers herself strange and unusual, she can see the deceased Adam and Barbara. The Maitlands seek Lydia's help to get her parents out of their house. Lydia agrees to assist but finds her parents, Charles and Delia, completely ignoring her, which is very strange and unusual. She tried to tell them about the ghostly couple, but her parents refused to believe it. While deciding their next move, Barbara finds a small model of a town that has a tiny gravestone with the name BEETLEJUICE'S on it. She tries to pronounce the name first, but ends up mispronouncing it. When she finally pronounces the right name, Beetlejuice, 3 times, she and Adam are sucked into the model, where they exhume Beetlejuice's body. They immediately regret it as Beetlejuice transports them into the small model. While digging up his body, Beetlejuice bursts out, and the Maitlands discover him to be wild and insane. They decide to handle the Deetz's eviction themselves. During a dinner party hosted by Delia to showcase her art, the Maitlands haunt the guests by singing the Banana Boat song, followed by their shrimp cocktails, turning into hands that scare them. Delighted by their successful haunting, the Maitlands rush to the attic to watch the guests flee in terror. However, the Deetz's react differently. They excitedly ask Lydia to bring the Maitlands down. When she refuses, they all head up to the attic, demanding the Maitlands reveal themselves. Although no one is found, Charles becomes fascinated with Adam's miniature town model, while Otho takes the Maitlands' handbook on their way out. As they leave the attic, Charles decides to exploit the haunted house for financial gain. However, Beetlejuice transforms into a large snake, terrifying everyone. He grabs Charles by the leg and dangles him above the stairs. The family panics, and Otho tumbles down the stairs as Beetlejuice drops Charles to the first floor. In an attempt to get rid of the snake, Barbara calls Beetlejuice's name 3 times. Lydia misunderstands and thinks one of the Maitlands was the snake, asking Beetlejuice to leave her and her family alone. Juno is displeased with the Maitlands' actions and calls them back to her office. She scolds them for releasing Beetlejuice and allowing Otho to access the handbook. Juno instructs them to put more effort into their haunting, and, as a result, the Maitlands contort their faces into more monstrous forms. However, Barbara feels bad as she is now attached to Lydia. Meanwhile, Lydia decides to end her life and heads to the attic to bid farewell. There, she encounters Beetlejuice in the model, and he tries to persuade her to say his name 3 times, claiming he can find the Maitlands for her. She almost falls for it until she realizes Beetlejuice was the snake and doubts his ability to help her. Just in time, Adam and Barbara return from meeting Juno and manage to talk Lydia out of her dark thoughts. They assure her that they no longer intend to frighten her family and that she can stay with them. However, peace is short-lived as Otho and Charles intrude into the attic. Lydia and the Maitlands hide, while Otho and Charles take Adam's model of the town downstairs. Charles plans to pitch the idea of turning the town into a paranormal-themed park to his business partner, Maxie Dean. He asks Lydia to bring the Maitlands down as guests, but she refuses. Undeterred, Otho uses the stolen handbook and the Maitlands' wedding clothes to perform a séance, forcing the deceased couple to appear before them. Unfortunately, Otho loses control of the spell, and the Maitlands begin to decay into corpses. Lydia becomes frantic to aid the Maitlands, but feels helpless. Suddenly, she spots Beetlejuice in the graveyard and seeks his assistance. He agrees to help, but on one condition: Lydia must marry him. Despite her reservations, Lydia agrees, and the stage is set. Beetlejuice effortlessly rescues the Maitlands, but he also holds Lydia to her promise. To act as witnesses, Beetlejuice forcefully takes Charles and Delia hostage at the wedding, using his powers to create barriers and cages for them. Adam and Barbara attempt to stop Beetlejuice, but he outsmarts them. He uses his magic to shut Barbara's mouth and remove Adam's teeth, but the couple continues to stop him. He then sends Adam into his model world and transports Barbara to a bizarre sandworm planet. Eventually, Barbara finds a way to ride a sandworm back into the house to confront Beetlejuice and save Lydia. On the other hand, Adam drives a small car in the model world to jump out and attack Beetlejuice. The sandworm crashes through the roof and engulfs Beetlejuice right before the wedding vows are taken. The day is finally saved, and surprisingly, the Deetzes can see the Maitland. In the following days, the Maitlands and the Deetzes learn to coexist as one happy, haunted family. Lydia's perspective on life changes, and Beetlejuice tries to maintain his sanity while awaiting his fate in a gloomy torture waiting room. Beetlejuice, released in 1988, directed by Tim Burton, produced on a budget of approximately $15 million. Originally, the script for Beetlejuice was envisioned as a horror film, with Beetlejuice being a winged reptilian demon who transformed into a small Middle Eastern man. The character of Lydia was also going to be a minor character with very few lines. However, under Tim Burton's direction, the story evolved into the quirky, comedic fantasy that audiences came to know and love. The movie won an Academy Award for Best Makeup, which was no surprise given the unique and striking visual appearances of the characters. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next recap.